Bundesrat, and the Federal Council. Thank you. Now, all reforms started by the Christian Liberal Coalition, the health system reform, the taxation system reform, ended. Because the Social Democrats and the Green Party says, we don't want that. Now we have to talk with them and find out how we can solve that. Germany had in the last years a debate about the future of federalism in Germany. While supporters of the system argue this mechanism has effectively protected the states against encroachment of their rights by the central government. Others say the principle of federal solidarity and national burden sharing stands in the way of economic development and modernization. Let me give you another example. While the economic and financial crisis struck parts of Germany hard, others, like the state of Brandenburg, came through this crisis very good with, well, I wouldn't say no problems, but just a few problems. That has to do with German federalism. One reason is that the government of Brandenburg made some good decisions, which other states didn't do. The states have the right to support the economic with own measures independent from decisions made at the national level. So the conclusion out of this is, we as liberals say federalism is the core principle of the idea of liberalism. We do not want a centralized state, but decentralization and the respect of the interests of different regions. Let us begin this debate with the basics. Federalism denotes a form of decentralized government where in legal terms, the component parts of the federation, be they states, provinces, Länder, or even in Switzerland, cantons, possess statehood of their own, and in some cases have existed prior to formation of the federation. There are other cases where a federal state was created by the devolution of power from a previously centralized government. For Germany, we can clearly state Germany consists of states who have existed in prior centuries. Countries such as Bavaria or Prussia, or the so-called city-states such as Bremen here or Hamburg. These states have been independent in former centuries and have been more or less been ruled by an emperor, but the princes and kings of the states had the absolute power above their people. The underlying principle on which every federal constitution rests is the principle of subsidiarity. This stipulates that decision-making power should rest as close as possible to those it affects. This is obviously the fundamental liberal principle which reaches far beyond the constitutional structure of the state. Freedom is the supreme principle of liberalism, which is just another term for self-determination or autonomy. If liberals speak of freedom, they first and foremost think of the freedom or the autonomy of the individual. Accordingly, liberals believe that the right to make decisions should first and foremost rest with the individual. And that's the fundamental difference between liberals and socialists and communists, who think that the state needs to make decisions about the people. In a political or collective context, this is not always possible for practical reasons. For instance, we cannot decide individually on which side of the car or of the road we would like to drive our cars. Still, the autonomy of a small group leaves more freedom with its members than that of a large group as fewer fellow members engage in the decision-making process. From a liberal standpoint, therefore, wherever collective decision-making is unavoidable, this should be exercised in the smallest possible unit. Consequently, any delegation of power from smaller to larger units should be subjected to the burden of proof that the smaller unit is unable to cope with the problem in question. In practice, this means that all those matters should be left in private hands or in the hands of the citizenry, for which a need of government interference has not explicitly been proven. This is the essence of the principle of subsidiarity, which is not only a core principle of liberalism, but also the essence of the concept of civil society. Applied to the organization of state, subsidiarity will result in a decentralized form of government. Only those matters are dealt with at the central level that cannot be dealt with adequately at lower levels. And my strong belief is that if we use this principle in our nations, it will help to have more democracy, because more people will be active in politics in their communities if they have the right to decide if a school will remain in the community, if a street will be built, and what the money will be spent for. It will help our democracy to be stronger. One major merit of federalism lies in its capacity to accommodate diversity. When a country is subdivided in sufficiently small and autonomous subunits, different religious, ethnic, or cultural groups can arrange their affairs according to their own preferences in the areas. This is the case where the boundaries of the subunits coincide more or less with the religious, ethnic, or cultural division lines permitting each group to have at least one of those units as its own. Even where such groups or groupings neither exist nor play a significant role, the federal structure makes it easier to take into account regional peculiarities as a local or regional government or administration